counting down with it.
Right. Right. Oh, we're live. So, uno momento. Let's see. There we are. Share. All right. Share. To a group here. Share. Share to a group. Got one viewer. What's up, Steve-O?
Steve-O.
Hey, did you share it to the actual page too, or did you just share it to your personal page, Steve-O? Because if you didn't, I'll share it to the page now. Trying to think what other group I need to share it to. Sorry, I'm having my brain's not working because I got foggy ass brain still from prom. So.
Prom always give us that foggy memory.
Oh man, it's so bad. We're like walking zombies. Yeah, see, I'm still walking zombie, sharing things. And I'm going to share it to the catacombs. So if you guys are, I shared it to mine. Yeah, if you would share it to the page, that'd be, never mind. I'm on the page right now. I'll share it right now. I got you. Anyways, hear what the fuck I was just saying. You should talk.
Hello, people.
Give the catacombs a shout out. Because that's what the catacombs. I'm trying to give the catacombs a shout out, and he's not. What are you doing? He's looking up Xboxes. Please stop.
If anybody has an Xbox One that they don't like, give it to me.
Stop. Get off your phone, please, babe.
You're not my real mom.
I know. Sometimes I fucking feel like it though. All right, what's up, y'all?
We're still struggling for our prom night and drunkenness of this weekend, but we are back for part 2.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And we have Shape with us now, finally. So say hi to the people.
Body.
No. Okay. So last week we discussed part 1 of the Toy Box Killer. We were so rudely interrupted by technology. So I was actually at the very end of last week's episode where it cut us off. So we didn't get to wrap shit up. And it was a weird way to end the show. We do apologize. I can't control it. But that said, we're going to kind of pick up where we left off there. And then we're going to wrap the rest of the show up for you guys. So do we have anything to discuss? No, prom was cool. We went to prom. If anybody else here went to prom, we had fun. Also, that happy birthday again to those guys. All those guys, Scum, Lynch, Davis. We got to see them. They were over at Carl's Tavern, rocking it out. So after the clowns and after all of that, of course, we went to the hotel to clean up and change. And then from there, we went to Carl's Tavern and got to see those guys and spend a little time there, closed down the bar. So that was that. We went back to the hotel room and
then say poetry.
Yeah. We went back to the hotel room. We hung out with some people, barely slept, caught breakfast with a few friends, and headed home. And we're paying for it now.
I went to sleep yesterday at about 6. Woke up today at 1.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so it's been a rough one.
A heavy recovery day.
Yeah.
It was fun. With the chill day, so we don't have to do shit.
Right. It was fun though. So, anyways, that said, I guess we'll go ahead and just get right back into this where we left off. Does anybody else have any objections? No? Okay.
Get this sick fuck out of my life.
Yeah, let's do this. Okay.
Yes.
Like I said, so last week, real quick, just to kind of catch up, we went over, we talked about David Parker Ray, who's known as the Toy Box Killer. It's suspected that for about a 40-year or so time span, he was abducting, sexually assaulting, and either killing or setting loose, drugging, and then setting loose women. for, like I said, about 40 years or so, but there was never any bodies found. So
I mean, everybody's got to have a hobby, but fuck.
So we were never sure how many or what happened exactly, but there's a pretty good we know. So, anyways, we talked about him. We talked about Cindy Hindi, which is his girlfriend at the time of the arrest, also an accomplice. We talked about the gal that had gotten away and the reason they had gotten arrested. And that's, excuse me. And then we talked about basically everything that was found inside the house and inside the toy box. And then that's kind of where we got cut off. But that was pretty much part one. We're going to pick up from there. So that said, I'm going to go, like I said, I'm just going to jump right into this. So where we left off last week was we were discussing on what the things that were found in the toy box. One of the things that was found on the wall was a list of words of encouragement. So these were like affirmations that he would tell himself or read to himself while he was dealing with abducted women. And these weren't words of encouragement for the women, they were for him, and they read as follows. Remember, a woman will do or say anything to get loose. They will kick, scratch, offer money, bite, yell, beg, scream, run, offer sex, threaten, lie, wait for opportunity. Standard excuses are sob stories, menstruating, pregnant, venereal disease, AIDS, sick, kids with babysitter, have to work, a sick baby, a sick parent, claustrophobia, missed by a husband or a friend, bad heart, can't miss school. Don't let her get to you. If she's worth taking, she's worth keeping. And she must be subjected to hypnosis before the woman can safely be released. Never trust a chained captive. Sorry. So that's something that was literally found on his wall. So words of encouragement for him.
He pretty much like went through the whole entire list of everything you say to a big ass no on the list of what you're not to do. It's fucked up.
Like when I heard that fucked me up so bad. Like I just kept coming back to that because I was like, man, this man literally thought of everything. He thought, I mean, he's obviously been told it all. And he wrote it all on fucking paper to remind himself, don't fall for their shit. Like that takes a different kind of like
mentality there.
I'm telling you, man, this dude is just fucking warped.
Ugh.
So anywho, another thing that was in the toy box, because like I said last week, there was a gyno, a DIY gyno chair that he had built, the ones with like stirrups and stuff that women would be examined in, for gyno appointments, female appointments. But anyways, at the foot of this chair, there was like a camcorder. That had been like at the time it was a decent high quality camcorder, and then there was also a TV that was mounted across the way, so that in addition to the mirror that was above this chair, there was also this live recording that was taking place that was forcing these women to watch everything that was happening. So no matter what they did, unless their eyes were closed, they had to see it all. And also he literally spent thousands of dollars to soundproof this entire trailer. So while he was close by to others, the way he got away with it was literally by drugging these women so much to the point that they just couldn't react, and soundproofing fucking shit. Like you couldn't hear. You could literally. It's crazy to think they probably tested that shit before they started taking women in there. Like they were actually testing their own soundproofing. Because I mean, in the video, which we're going to get to a video, but there's a video where in the beginning when they find the video, he's actually testing the equipment. Like it's creepy as fuck. So I guarantee you he tested the soundproof of this whole trailer and everything. Wow. So
It's
so I'm telling you. So at this point, he now the state police are like, man, this is bigger than we've ever dealt with, because like we said last time, it was handled by much smaller people, and then it was called in the state police, and now state police are calling FBI, and they're bringing the FBI in. So now that they've brought the FBI in, this is when Cindy decides she's going to start talking. So she agrees to be interviewed. And let me tell you, she basically comes clean and admits to so much shit. She out the gate admits to knowing that David was a dangerous, sick dude when they had gotten together. That he had told her everything. But I guess that she was just so like infatuated with him for whatever reason. When she was like 20 years older and looked like an old man, but she was just so infatuated with him that it didn't bother her at all. Like she was just like, fuck it, sign me up. But it's yeah, he like I said, he told her everything. He said, God damn, I can't read my own damn handwriting. He believed he told her he believed that he owned all women, that they were literally here on earth just to please him, just for the sole purpose of pleasing him in any way imaginable. He had been, he admitted to possibly having done this for about 40 years because he claimed that his first murder had taken place at the age of about, 19, maybe 20 years old. And I think you started mentioning this on the last episode. But he admitted to abducting a random schoolgirl. Not real sure what the age was because he never, said where he left the bodies. He never kept any. He was very meticulous and very smart about how he did this in order to not get caught. But he had said he abducted a random schoolgirl, tied her to a tree, raped her, beat her, and strangled her to death. And he told her that he loved every bit of it. He loved every aspect of the entire ordeal. He loved the rape part. He loved the torture part. He loved the actual killing part. Like he loved all of it. So he was out the gate. I mean, he was a pretty sick man. But I mean, of course, at this point, he kept going too. And these are all things. This is all her confession. Well, this is all her statement. So he said that I guess he had kept going, of course, because nobody really ever stopped. Like a lot of times, you don't really stop, especially if you get something like this in you. You don't see they don't tend to stop. It's not like one and done type thing. So he did keep going, but no more at random. He didn't do the at random thing anymore. From this point forward, he specifically targeted sex workers, drug addicts, stuff like that. People that didn't really have family that like knew where they were at, or that was questioning. That was questioning where he was or where they were. Stuff like that. The forgotten, folks that.
Yeah. It's like the ones that don't really give a shit if they live or die, pretty much.
Right. And he targeted people like that. He also had a type where he liked, like we mentioned this last time, he liked the Asian or the Hispanic ladies, and he did like girls with big boobs. So I guess he was finding, he really had a type. Like he really had to work hard to find them ladies. It's 4 different types of type, but yeah, he did. He had a type, and he managed. But yeah, just people who were like estranged from their family and stuff like that. The people that go unnoticed. He, like I said, originally he did drift some, like he drifted from here to there. At one point he used to live in this place called Fence Lakes, New Michigan. Or not New Michigan. New Michigan. New Michigan. I called it New Michigan. Oh my God. So the population was so small. We're talking like 50 people or give or take, like not very many people at all. Everybody knew everybody type place. A lot of ranches, farms, stuff like that. He actually owned land out there. He had his own farm where he raised cattle and stuff like that. He had actually admitted to Cindy. He told Cindy, according to Cindy, he told her that while he lived there, he had been questioned. He had been interviewed by the FBI for the possible connection to tons of disappearances and murders of women from that area. This all came okay. And so he like legit, they came to his house, they investigated him, they questioned him in the involvement of these women who were disappearing. They were like women in this very small area just disappearing and dying left and right. Well, this came in via a tip, and the tip actually came in from none other than his own fucking daughter, Miss Jessie Ray. Jessie Ray actually called this tip in when she was much younger and claimed that David had been kidnapping women and trafficking them out for sex. Like I said, Jessie Ray that called and tried to put a stop to this, right? But we'll come back to Miss Jessie.
Miss Jessie.
Yeah, there wasn't any actual physical evidence though. Like I said, this dude was so good at covering his tracks and stuff, so there was no actual physical evidence. And because of that, it basically the FBI couldn't do anything about it, so it just kind of didn't get investigated really. So they just let it go. No big deal. He claimed this situation though. He claimed the situation proudly and said literally that he had talked his way out of the situation. Like that's how he referred to that whole thing, was that he had he got away with murder. He had committed the crime and he talked his fucking way out of it. It's just wow. So yeah, he had gotten away with it. At this point, though, he did move around a lot after this. So he started drifting. He used a police badge a lot to capture women everywhere that he went, which is actually something that he had done with Cynthia, the gal that had gotten away from episode 1, the gal that was the reason they had gotten arrested to begin with. So yeah, he took this badge with him everywhere, and he was just impersonating a police officer for a lot. So to capture women. He went places like Texas, Arizona, Alaska, and New Mexico. So over this 40-year time span, just imagine the women that he was able to get his hands on in 4 different states. He's targeting sex workers, drug addicts, people who, he's paying attention to these sort of things and just taking women that aren't even, it's just crazy. It's so crazy that he just got away with this. And like I said, this could be across 4 different states.
Yeah, and he's like one of those dudes are like the ones you least expect. It could be like your next door neighbor, you know?
Well, that's what I meant. Like legit, the people thought he was the nicest, kindest guy. There were people who were just absolutely shocked and blown away by it when he got arrested. They did not believe it was even possible. Like so much that his work even continued to pay him a leave of absence. Like he got paid leave because they thought that this was all just had to be bullshit because there's no fucking way. He's too good of a man. Still read my handwriting. I am horrible. So anyways, I know what this is. Okay, so another instance, she did mention that he was really good at removing any ties or connections to these women. So all IDs, jewelry, clothing, anything that could tie these women to a description, he made sure to remove all of it. To the point that they did, like I mentioned, there was an FBI photo list of 401 different items that were pulled out of this house that did not belong to him or Cindy. He told lots of stories over their relationship about his murders. One time, he told her about a time where he was dumping a body. So he went to like this little ravine and dumped this body in a ravine, threw some dirt over it, put it in a real shallow grave type area. And I guess like on the ride home, when he was almost home, he got to thinking on the ride home and he was like, you know what? I think I'd like to keep that woman's head, like the skull. And so he actually turned around and went back to go retrieve the skull from his victim. And when he got back to the gravesite, the shallow gravesite, there happened to be like this big gnarly dog just like standing on top of the grave. And he took that as a bad omen and actually just was like, no, I'm good. And didn't take it. But that was a story that he actually admitted to her. So that's something that kind of stood out to her. And she did end up, telling. But anywho, he was really good at, like I said, making the DIY stuff. Everything that he made his stuff. Are you okay? Why do you seem so sad and depressed? I keep seeing your face and your
he's like ready for like this motherfucker's too sick for me to even want to say some shit.
I nothing. I mean, like, what the fuck? What can you add to a story of a guy that fucking shoves 16-inch PVC dildos at people?
Yeah. That's what
I don't
getting.
even want my dead mama knowing I talk about shit like that.
So yeah, look, on that note. So like I said, he made a lot of DIY shit, when I discussed leg spreaders in the last episode, leg spreaders being found, what they were is they were these things that went between the ladies' knees, and if the women tried to close their legs in any way, there were spikes that would come out, and there were like spikes that would, I don't know if they came out or if they were already exposed, but they would impale their legs and like stab their legs to keep them from closing their legs. He also had a handmade Freddy Krueger glove that he actually named a Freddy. He named it the Freddy Krueger glove, and I'm gonna assume he used it on women. Because why else would he? Why wouldn't he at this point? You know. He made sex toys out of PVC pipe, like he had mentioned, that had like markings for inches, which was actually in some of the photos that were posted. So if you go back and look at those photos, there's one that it's decent size. Like I'm not even fucking exaggerating. It's big, and it's got inches. So it's probably like every bit of like 10 inches or more. And at the base where it would like, like go inside, like, I know this is graphic, but at the base where it would like actually go inside right here, there were nails that were like pointing to where they would jab right here. And then on the other side of it, like in the thigh area where it would go in and like be around the thigh, there were also nails around the entire thing that were sticking outwards in a different direction. So basically it was designed to be like huge, long, take measurement and destroy basically everything around it. And these photos are online, very easy to find. So if anyone is curious, you can find it. And when you see it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. The photo isn't the greatness, but you'll know and you'll get an idea. It's melted. He melted the nails into this piece. It's mortifying, terrifying to think that
you really shouldn't be that fucking curious. It's fucked up.
It's fucked up.
Yeah, it's like I'm just imagining like how painful it is just like to get that stuff in you, and it's like, oh my god,
it's just that big alone. And then on top of that, the nails that were not only here but also on the thighs too. Like, just why so much? It just wow. Like, what kind of fucking mind comes up with that shit?
Also, this story just pisses me off because I got 3 beautiful daughters. It's just like this cocksucker got away with it. Basically. I mean, he got caught, but he died before he even spent a fucking moment in prison.
Basically,
right? Basically, thinking of that.
Yeah. So, I know I mentioned in the last episode that there would be a very sensitive subject. So we're going to discuss that real quick. So, trigger warning. This does involve animals. So just so everybody knows, warning. This is graphic. So I know that in the last episode we mentioned a device that was meant to bend a woman over and keep them in a position. It was like a DIY device that he had made himself. This device, he would have parties, and this is actually, there's a part of this in the script, the transcript. I didn't want to read it. I just can't. But so there's a part in the transcript that he plays for these women in the beginning where he already warns them about these type of parties. So what he does is he has these parties, so he has people over. I guess there were other people involved in this shit, but he would have people over and he would bring this device that made force these women to bend them over. And I guess he has 3 dogs, 3 male dogs. All I'm assuming are not clipped. All are very much ready to engage with a woman in heat or a dog in heat. So he would put these women in this device that would forcefully bend them over and keep them in position, put them in the middle of the room in front of his party guests, and he would spray the
reproducing hormone.
The hormone that is like a heat hormone, like a hormone for females in heat, and a breeding hormone, and he would put it all over their areas and their back and stuff like that, and let the dogs go to town on his women. And he made sure to let them know he had 3 different dogs, all men, all boys. And I guess there were people that were really fucking into that shit. And it's graphic. Like, even in the transcript, it's horribly graphic how he describes that entire ordeal. Again, something I wish I'd have never read. But yeah, so that's a thing, and that was a real thing. He used to let his dogs sexually assault these women, as well. In addition to everything else they went through, they also had to be sexually assaulted by dogs who didn't know any different because all they smell is a hole and it smells like a dog in heat. You know what I mean? Like, it's fucked up. Like, that's not only is that so foul on so many levels where it comes to like raping the woman, it's also literally animal abuse, and it is a whole different form of animal abuse. Like, that's, you can't just you don't let people be fucking dogs and dogs be fucking people. That's fucked up. Like, that's a
it's like bestiality, like in
it is.
dub generations.
It is 100% bestiality, and that shit is illegal. Like, right?
What the Bible says about fucking dogs?
Don't do it. Like, jeez, like, I just can't even. So, anyways, that was the thing. And like I said, there would be people over, and they would just be totally cool with it. I
honestly would leave the party as soon as that shit started off. I was, okay, I'm out.
That's right. I will bounce immediately if I saw that. But no,
it's been real, man. But goddamn.
So, I know I mentioned last time with Cynthia that she admitted to how David took a lot of pictures the entire time during the torture and the rape and this, that, and the other. Cindy actually backed that story up. Of course, they were separate, but she backed that story up, stating that he would take photos of all of his victims and he would keep them for a little while, but eventually he had enough self-control to burn them and get rid of them because he'd get like a new set. So he never held on to anything for too long. Which I think is another reason why he got away with it for so long. Honestly, if it wouldn't have been for Cindy, like we discussed in the last one, who fucking knows how long this man would have gotten away with this? He could have gotten away with this until he died. Like, that's just terrifying.
Yeah.
So, Cindy first said that she wasn't there for any of the murders, but eventually did admit to helping David abduct and torture all kinds of women. Gosh, I think she said there was like, and they were together for like 8 months. And I think she said there was like 14 girls that she knew of in an 8-month time span. So if you do the fucking math, like 14 girls in an 8-month time span, and he claims that his first was when he was 19. That's what I'm saying. Like, they don't know. They don't know for sure. They know that this happened. I mean, he even eventually like pretty much admits, doesn't he? I know eventually, like, we'll get to the end where like he's ready to talk and shit. Like, so I mean, it happened. We just don't have any true actual evidence. But anywho, so February 1999, she tells a story where she helped Ray take a girl named Angela. She only called her Angela. And they left her alive on the side of the highway after her torture. Now at this point, Ray won't talk. So, and like I said, coworkers were so shocked they started giving him paid leave and this, that, and the other. But back to this whole Angie girl. Or the Angela girl. Turns out the woman's name was Angelica Montano, who was actually friends with Cindy. So this was Cindy's fucking friend. Like, they were like, I guess she thought she was her friend type shit. So they were, to my knowledge, they were like at the bar. And I've heard a couple of different things. Either way, Cindy invites her back to the house. I heard that she invited her back to the house to get cake batter. And then I also heard that she just invited her back to the house to hang out. Either way, Cindy invites her back to the house. When they get to the house, for whatever reason, they both, her and David, ambush her and take over her. They chained her up like immediately as soon as she got there. She got chained up just like Cynthia did. Kept for 4 days. They repeatedly raped and tortured her. They beat her, everything, by both Cindy and David. This wasn't just, it wasn't just a David thing. Like, Cindy was 100% involved in this. She begged and begged and begged for her life. And it was actually Cindy. Cindy's the one who actually wanted to set her free. Cindy's the one that was like sympathetic. So they actually didn't even drug this one. They just randomly set her free. She actually hitchhiked, if find her way home, which is crazy because I wouldn't want to be around anybody in the world. But at the same time, you just kind of want to get home. So she hitchhikes home. She ends up in the car with a cop. A cop picks her up. And she tells the entire story to this officer, everything that had happened. And I guess the officer must have felt like it was crazy or just outrageous or something. Never fucking investigated it. Never looked into it. Never followed up on it. Nothing. Just fucking. Could you imagine if like something would have like? I mean, I know it wasn't much sooner. It was like a month or so. But I mean, just holy shit! Like this can't be the only incident.
Right, and it's like you especially have a girl who was eventually on the verge of death, been raped and everything, just screaming her head off. It tells you the truth about this guy, and that does not like spark a mic. Just like we need to get this motherfucker. It's like, come on.
They did not investigate it, so I thought that was crazy. And she was just like, whatever. Anyway, because she just wanted to get home. So yeah, this ended up leading investigators to believe that there were more victims than they thought. They were like, here's one that got away. Here's one that came forward since this, because I mean, it went public on the news. So once that happened, she came forward. And then, like I said, they start realizing there's got to be other victims. So in the search, as they're searching the toy box and they're coming through all this evidence and stuff, they find tapes, lots of tapes. And a lot of it's just a bunch of bullshit random ass tapes, but they happen to find this one particular tape where at first you see David and you see him like he's in the toy box adjusting the gynecological chair, however you say it. He's setting it up and he's setting the camera up, and you can tell he's like testing the areas and testing the sound to make sure everything's good. But then so like they're watching it and they're like, okay, like this, we're all right, this is weird, but okay. And then like, so I guess the tape kind of cuts out for a second because like when you're recording stuff, everybody recorded VHS at one point, like a lot of us did anyway. So anyways, it kind of cuts out for a second and then it comes back in, and when it flashes back in, it flashes in on this woman who is tied and attached to the chair, clearly being tortured. She's clearly out of it. She's obviously drugged. Her face, I know her like eyes were covered and stuff, like a lot of her facial features were covered with like duct tape or something. So they weren't really able to make that out. But what they were able to make out was a tattoo on, I believe it was on her calf. And it wasn't just like any tattoo. It was a very distinctive tattoo of a swan. So when they were able to get this information, and so at this point they're like, there's more victims. So they've got the swan tattoo and they enhanced the image and they put it on the news. And they're like, so, hey, we have this swan tattoo. If this is you, please come forward. Well, a woman, gets a hold of, I think, the news or the police department or something. She calls somebody, probably the police. Extremely upset. And she goes on to tell a story of her ex-daughter-in-law. And she talks about a time that her ex-daughter-in-law and her son had just got married. It was a very like spur of the moment wedding. It was short. So they were having issues out the gate immediately. It might have even been like something like intimacy issues. I don't know. But anyways, they got married and almost immediately started having issues. So she wanted to go out and blow off some steam. So she told her mother-in-law that night, she was like, hey, I'm going to go out. I'm just going to blow off some steam. I'll be back. And so she went out with her friends to the bar. And I think they might have did a little bar hopping, but ultimately they landed at the bar where Jessie Ray was, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was Jessie Ray. So anywho, she ends up there. She didn't drink all night until she got to this bar. And at this point, Jessie was the one that was supposed to give her a ride back home. Jessie was always giving everybody rides. She was just one of those helpful people like her dad. So she'd give people rides home from the bar and this and the other. So she intended on getting a ride home from Jessie this night from the bar. So she only had like one drink or something. And then she loses fucking time. She completely loses time. And she comes forward like the 3 days later or something. A gentleman, a park ranger, brings her home to her mother-in-law's house where she had left from 3 days prior, brings her home and says, I found her wandering on the beach. She was lost. She didn't have any shoes on. She was dehydrated. Went and got her something to drink, and here she is. We hope she's okay. And when they dropped her off, she was still really disoriented. She just was super out of it, not herself at all. She kept trying to tell the family she doesn't know I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. I have no answers for you. Eventually, the family did not believe her. The husband did not believe her. Nobody believed her, to the point that no one really forgave her. They got divorced. She, heartbroken, left, moved back home to a different state, or city or something like that. She moved. Yeah, so that was that. And so that woman seen the swan tattoo and calls the police that day and says, that is my ex stepdaughter-in-law. And I believe the man that dropped her off that day was the same man that did this. So lo and behold, what had happened was that she had went out and Jesse went to give her a ride, but instead stopped at her dad's house first. And that's how she got abducted by David Ray, who kept her for 3 days and sexually assaulted her, beat her, like everything he could, everything he did to all the other girls. And he drugged her up so fucking bad and then took her back to her fucking mother-in-law's house and dropped her off at the front fucking door in his park ranger uniform. And can you imagine the absolute just heartbreak that mother-in-law must have felt when she seen that tattoo on TV and knew that was her daughter-in-law and put the timeline together in her head and thought, oh my God, we didn't believe her. She was raped and drugged and she had no fucking idea. So when this all comes to light, they ask this girl, they say, hey, is this you? And she said, that's me. That's my tattoo. That's me in the video, but I don't remember it. So he was literally drugging women and just setting them fucking free. So who knows how many are actually alive or how many actually died. But so what had happened with this girl, her name's Kelly. And she, oh shit, sorry. I got really off subject here. Kelly Van Cleve. At the time, her name was Kelly Garrett. But at the time, she she didn't know what had happened. So she didn't really call the police because she didn't know what the fuck happened. She didn't report anything to the cops, and she couldn't tell her in-laws anything or her husband anything because she didn't know what the hell happened. So she just took off. Like I said, she moved. And for a year, this poor girl was having these horrible fucking nightmares, these terrifying nightmares of being tied up or having weapons at her neck or being raped or being, just like tortured. She was having nightmares and didn't understand what they were or why she was having these reoccurring nightmares. When in reality, she was suffering from severe PTSD. So much that it was literally taking over her subconscious mind. Like, I just can't imagine what she must have gone through. And then to see yourself in that state. And then, so at that point, it all just kind of started coming back to her. Because once she started realizing that happened, she started recalling all of these dreams and realizing that these dreams were more than just dreams. This is what the fuck she went through. This is what happened. So she started being able to recollect some of that memory, which actually helps in the end. But yeah, so let me get all the way forward here because I just did all of this without any notes. But yeah, so evidently, this takes me back to so what had happened was, so Kelly, so she now remembers the actual abduction. So she remembers getting a ride home from Jesse. She remembers stopping at the property and she went inside. She went into the living room and waited on Jesse. And when Jesse returns, it's Jesse and David, and they both return with weapons and duct tape. And they literally just immediately started taping her up and threatening her with weapons. She doesn't remember a whole hell of a lot because of the drugs that she was on almost immediately, thank God. But she remembers enough to be able to play a very important role in this entire thing. So that actually leads me to the fact that he was using Jesse long before he was even using Cindy. Jesse, the same girl that called in the tip stating that her father was abducting women and selling them for sex trade. and now she's helping. Now she's fucking helping him. So let me just take you back real quick to the audio tape. You know how in the beginning when I mentioned that the audio tape and that 1993 date was gonna be important, and I was gonna mention it again later. Well, Cindy Hendy didn't come around until 1998, and if Jesse's the one that's helping him prior to that, do you guys remember in the audio tape where he talks about him and his lady friend and how they've got some kinky hang-ups that involve rape and torture and yada, and they've been doing this together for years, he mentions. So you telling me that he's been fucking his daughter prior to this? Did he start fucking his daughter, or was he raping his daughter? And eventually she just gave into it and became a part of it.
It was like that seems shocking at this point.
No, but
No.
like,
No.
what the fuck?
Fucking dogs, fucking your dog.
Or was there another woman? Like, I don't think so. I think, but like, or were there other women that was helping him do this? Like, that's just I know people are fucked, but man, just like for one woman to be able to do so. I know that there's some nasty women out there, but I just couldn't. I can't put myself in that position. I couldn't imagine doing that to another woman.
Yeah, it just gets to a point. It's like, fuck, what next? You know what I mean? It's like,
wow. Well, how can you top this? You know,
you can't.
Firecrackers.
Man, no, don't you dare. So, anywho, at this point now, Jessie Ray is arrested. So we arrest Jessie Ray because we find out that she's kind of got some shit going on too. She's a little bit involved. Cindy was going to offer the DA information in exchange for a reduced sentence. So she's ready to rock and fucking roll. She's going to testify against David. She said that they let some of them go, but everyone else was murdered. Everyone. At least 14 girls, like I said, in an 8-month time span. That he did admit to using Elephant Butte State Park to dispose of the bodies. He told her how to empty the bodies. He said that in order to keep them from shooting back up to the top, because eventually your bodies are going to fill with gases. As your body is like decomposing on the inside, it's filling with gas. And when the body fills with gas, it can't stay underwater. So what will happen is if somebody dumps a body, eventually that body's going to fill up with gas and it's going to shoot to the top, and the body's going to get found. So he knew that in order to keep that from happening, empty the insides first. Empty the insides and fill that fucker and weigh it down. That way the body doesn't shoot back up to the top. And mind you, this lake was 23 miles long, 3 to 4 miles wide, and at some places it was anywhere from 90 to 100 fucking feet deep. So needless to say, nothing was ever found. In addition to the desert, like I said last time, that's the second largest desert in all of North America. New America.
All of New Michigan.
Yeah, New Michigan.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm telling you, my brain is still foggy. But okay, so there's that. There was also something I had heard on one of the things that I had listened to where they had mentioned something about he had this thing where he had a private cement person who would come and dump cement privately for him, and he had like a shit ton of tires, like big fucking massive tires big enough to hide a body in if you wanted to. And he would have this guy come out and dump the cement, and he would fill these tires, and then he would dump the tires places and shit like that. Like, so I guess that's another possibility. This dude, like, he never ever let anybody see what he was doing with the tires or the cement. The guy that dumped the cement never got to witness anything. He was just told to come dump it and not ask any questions. Like, that's not.
If that does not sound suspicious to you, it's like, come on now.
No. So, like, is he buried people in fucking, like, are people encased in cement? Like, it's just mortifying to think what this fucking man would have done.
Yeah.
Oh, and P.S., it's not just 3 people. It's not just him and his daughter and his girlfriend. There's also another accomplice in this whole story. This man's name is Roy Yancey. Cindy also gives up Roy Yancey. And this little motherfucker, when he was younger, this little son of a bitch managed to get fucking Halloween canceled. Greatest holiday of the entire year, and he got Halloween canceled because him and his little punk ass fucking buddies wanted to run around killing fucking cats and knocking over gravestones. So Halloween got canceled in Truth or Consequences. 1 year because of this little bastard.
Now I hate this guy.
Sucker.
Now I hate this guy more than David Parker Ray.
Right? So
Bro.
Halloween's canceled. So they pull Roy Yancey in for questioning. And as soon as they pull him in, he immediately fucking confesses. He immediately tells the story and confesses that he had been forced to kill his ex-girlfriend, possibly potential girlfriend, somebody that he had once been definitely with. But he was forced to kill her. David had drugged his girlfriend at a 4th of July party and then held him supposedly at gunpoint and forced him to choke her to death. And then they went out together and they buried her body in the desert. Roy did take police to the burial site to his recollection, to his knowledge, but at this point the body was gone, which they believed that Roy probably went back and moved the body because he wasn't going to leave any stones unturned. He had a witness. Somebody knew where it was at, so he was probably just better off removing the body. So all in all, in the end, there ended up being 3 separate trials. Why they did this, I don't know, but they tried him for 3 separate trials, one for Kelly, one for Angela, and one for Cynthia. Let's see. So, sorry. I'm reading. So 5 months into this whole ordeal, 5 months into it, out of nowhere, literally out of nowhere, Roy Yancey, because Roy Yancey was going to testify against David Parker Ray as well. Out of nowhere, 5 months into this whole incarceration thing, Roy Yancey freaks out and removes his statement and decides that he is not going to testify. He's just going to plead guilty and take a guilty plea. Because he had actually received a death note in jail anonymously that said rats die in jail. So instead, he decided to cop a guilty plea and spend 30 years in prison because he was so fucking scared to testify against David Parker Ray. He was certain that letter had come from David Parker Ray. Also, mind you, like I said, also Cindy was going to testify as well, right? Like we had this all set up for this dude's going to fry. Well, 9 months before all goes down with Cindy also removes her statement and decides she's also going to take a guilty plea because somehow or another, this motherfucker is also a charmer in fucking prison and managed to get her fucking letters in prison. Like he was smuggling her letters in prison and wooed this bitch from fucking prison and made her fall in love with him all over again to the point that she removed all of her statements and decided to also cop a guilty plea and she got sentenced 36 years in prison. For the abductions of Cynthia and Angelica. Kelly testified at her own trial. Said she didn't want him to get the death sentence, that she wanted him to suffer just like all of the rest of his victims did. So at this point, all they really have to work with for any sort of serious charges was that tape that we had. And these fucking this bastard's grimy ass sleazy fucking lawyers had the audacity to say that all of the participants that had taken place in all of this were willing participants. Every last one of them were willing, and that they all did it in exchange for money or drugs. Period. Like, wow.
So you look at the videos, like how the fuck do you see how these people were like willing? You know what I mean?
Literally talks about raping bitches with dogs. Like, it's not fucking. No one's willing. Like what? I mean, I guess maybe there are some weird willing shit. Like I can't say. But that's what they're trying to say. They're literally trying to say that these women were willing. So
it's like if I was the lawyer for this motherfucker, I'd say, "Oh hell no."
Well, the thing is that some jurors actually believed that bullshit, and it came back dead fucking locked by 2 jurors, and they had to call a mistrial because of it. Like. What the fuck? So anyways, we move on to Cynthia's case in 2001. She was coherent the entire time. So, and she was not willing to testify. She was not willing testify. She was not. She wanted to let so she wanted to let them know that she was not willing. I'm sorry. My notes. She wanted to let the judge know and the courts know that she was not a willing fucking participant, though. So she definitely testified. And I mean, she cried and yelled and she was distraught in court. And at one point, even stood up and pointed right at him and called him a bastard in court and everything. It was a big deal. So out of nowhere, I guess at this point, like Jesse's coming up on her trial too. So out of nowhere, during Cynthia's trial, where Cynthia's testifying for herself, David's lawyer stands up in the middle of court and says that he wants to cop a guilty plea. He's ready to sign a plea. The plea was that Jesse was about, like I said, Jesse was about to stand trial, and the plea was that he would plead guilty to all charges if Jesse was released on time served. Yeah, right. And the fucking thing is, they agreed to it. They were just like, yeah, sure, whatever. So they agreed to it. They sentenced him 224 years. Jesse pled no contest and was given 2.5 years in prison with 5 years of probation. May 2022. Or not 2022. May 2002. Is that right? Yeah, May of 2002. David is to contact authorities. This is once he's been sentenced. Okay, so now he's at this point he's spent 2.5 years in jail, waiting his trial, waiting his sentencing, and all that stuff. Now at this point, he has been sentenced 224 years. So now we're fast forwarding, like I said, to May of 2002. He is approximately 8 months into his sentence at this point. His actual prison sentence. I don't even know if he's actually transferred to prison yet. He might even still be in county. But in May of 2002, David contacted authorities and he was ready to talk. He's ready. He's like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's do it. I'll talk. Because I guess at some point, while he is incarcerated for these past, 3 years now, he had found God. So
oh, he found God now. Okay.
always forgiven, all that he did, totally forgiven because he found God. So of course immediately they literally schedule a meeting. It's immediately they're like, yeah, fucking get on this. Let's hear it. Let's get it. And literally right before the scheduled fucking meeting was due to take place, David died of a fucking heart attack. So when he said he didn't serve any of his time, this fucking son of a bitch literally served 8 months of his 224-year sentence that was handed to him for all of the rape, torture, and murder that this man committed. He was given 224 years and served 8 fucking months. He didn't have to do shit. He didn't pay for his crimes at all. At all. He was a fucking famous man in prison. He got fucking because you know how those killers get in prison, they get this ego and they believe that they're famous. He was a charmer. He'd smile in court. He loved the camera, stuff like that. Are you fucking kidding me?
And I've been saving this little surprise for the end of the show. And that's basically where we're at right now. Cindy just made parole and she is out on the streets on no paper, no probation or nothing. She is on the streets free right now.
Yeah. They didn't even put her on a fucking a tracker, a monitor as a violent fucking
They just let her out
criminal.
free.
Yeah, she's out. Jesse's out. Yancey's out. Everybody's out. He's dead. And get this shit. So there was an investigator. This stuff was so fucked up. This stuff bothered people so badly. There was an investigator who was working on this case.
Oh, the last victim.
Yes, his last victim. She was an
of
investigator
the toy box killer,
working on this case, and she was 5 days into investigating everything that was found, everything that was pulled out of this trailer and out of the house. 5 days into it, walks out of the building, walks out of the office or whatever, grabs her gun, puts it in her fucking mouth, and blows her brains out because she couldn't handle what all she had just seen.
Because she had to sketch out all the details and everything that was going on in the room, and it just traumatized her so bad to the point she's like, fuck this, I'm not going to.
I can't even believe it. I can't. That's just so.
As soon as this show's over, I'm taking this laptop and throwing it in the river. Any evidence of this shit in my house ever again.
Oh my god! So that's that. There you have it. There's the toy box killer. That's what we got. That's what you get. There was just no word. How does this happen? How do people become this? I understand fantasy and I understand kinks and I understand being a little fucking weird. Sometimes a little extra weird, but
for juggalos, you got it.
This is a whole different level. This is sadistic. This is
evil.
Evil. Shockingly evil.
I don't understand how this comes about in people. I know that the neglect and stuff like that and abuse and stuff, that all plays a big factor. But there's so many normal fucking kids that were raped or abused. And I don't understand what trigger. That's why I'm so the other day, we were at a doctor's appointment, and I was walking out and walking back in, and I walked past this middle-aged elderly lady, and I was wearing my casual Scream jacket, and it's got serial killers all over, like killers, all over it, and then it's something that Erica with Scrub Rex had made me, and on the back it says the casual Scream real big, so it's a custom, and I'm the only one that has it. Anyways, I was, and I don't ever think about it. But this little old, and I seen her as I was walking past her the first time. I seen her kind of like eyeballing my jacket, and I was like, "Oh boy!" And so I walked back.
You're like one of those supporters.
Well, and I was walking back, and she stopped me, and she said, "Ma'am," and I said, "I knew it was coming." And she said, "Can I ask you why do you have? Are those killers? Why do you have killers all over your shirt?" And I was like, "Well, I have a podcast, and one of the themes is true crime." So it's part of what I study. But there's like I tried to explain to her. I was like, I'm not in support of these people. I'm not like fuck yeah, Ted Bundy. He's a cool fucking dude. I'm not like this guy's like he's like my man. You know, like that's my dude. No. There's only one fucking killer that I support, and that is Eileen Wuornos, and I will forever be team fucking Eileen Wuornos. That is my bitch. But that, I do not support what the fuck happens in these cases. I'm just so like, I want to know what the fuck makes these people's brains do that. You know, like it's trying to understand. Like I'm fascinated with trying to learn and understand what makes a person do this. Whereas I'm not like supporting what happened here at all, because I'm not. So yeah, that's kind of. You know, like
it's like it's fascinating to the brain and how the brain triggers to people and make them go to these like animalistic tendencies to do shit like this. You know what I mean? It's like, that's the question that's like still unknown to this day. You know,
by nature, like when we are born, we're born so pure. We're so pure and innocent. It's pure innocence. There's no wrong. There's no wrongdoing when we're born. So I don't understand what creates that. What brings that darkness out in people, because when we're born we don't have that, you know. So
no.
It's crazy. But anyways, so that's the Toy Box Killer, y'all. So glad we wrapped that fucking one up.
Thank God.
And we hope y'all loved it. That said, since we didn't get to do this last week, which I felt like a total dickhead about, I want to give Chuckklez the floor here, because he was supposed to be able to at the end of last episode when we got cut off. So we're going to give him the floor and let him talk to you about any and everything he's got going on. So, Chuckklez, what do you got for us?
Oh yeah! First of all, thank y'all very much for having me on this show. It was fucking crazy. I loved it. I'd love to get
2
back
weeks
on
in a row, bub. Thank you. We appreciate you rocking it out with us for real.
Definitely.
Always. And this May, I have a new EP called The Unnormal, which will be coming out hopefully by the 14th of this month. So be sure to check this out. And it's going to be on some beyond energetic shit that you would normally hear from me. That's why it's called The Unnormal, because I am unnormal.
Right.
And we're all unnormal with this. Yeah. So hope you all like it, enjoy it. And I got a full-length album in the works from my homie DJ Lil Sprite called Horrors for the Unstable. Hopefully it'll be coming out by October, so keep your eyes peeled for that.
That's what's up. Dope ass shit, man. Make sure that you get me links to all that stuff too. That way I can
get in the catacombs, Juggalo News.
Yep. Make sure you get shared everywhere we need you out there.
Oh, I got y'all. And hopefully when Cali opens up again, I'll start getting some shows going on. If not, I'll be y'all's area to do shows.
So yeah, you're where? You're in Cali, you said?
Yeah.
So are they still shut down?
We supposedly they're reopening a few venues, but they're only putting like a certain amount of people they can carry in for the venues. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know what, I get it. It's just wild how some of these places are just so much further behind than other places. And you would think like places like California would have already just been ready to rock and roll. Whereas like Indiana, they were like, yeah, no, we're not doing shit. They had us open. We were one of the first places to like start really fucking opening, and probably one of the first places that went full capacity. But hey, we'll be one of the last places to legalize marijuana.
Exactly.
That's fucking Indiana for you.
Yeah, I'm glad you fucking did away with the mask and everything.
Yeah, we don't even have a mask mandate.
You don't have to wear a mask. Fuck you guys.
I mean, There's a lot of most places around here still ask that you wear masks, and they still have their signs up and stuff. Which we still wear our masks just because everyone else is. We're not going to be those assholes. We're not going to be the first assholes.
Right.
Plus,
Courtesy.
We're not like the ones in Texas. I'm sorry for those who live in Texas because we have love for y'all, but they already got rid of the no mask law and everything. They don't give a fuck, you know.
Right. Yeah. Well, same with Florida. Florida basically didn't shut down at all. They shut down for a very short period of time, and they kept trying to reshut Florida back down. And they were like, nah.
Florida don't give a fuck.
No, they were like, no. And the fucked up thing is they're not even. They're fucking killing it when it comes to this COVID shit too. Like it's not even. It's like almost not even on their radar. So that's why the governor was like, nah, you got me fucked up. You know what I mean? Like the governor was like, this is my money you're fucking with, basically. Like state. That's why I'm saying, like, I can't believe like places like Cali and shit are just wow. I'm ready for it to be over, man. Like this is
I know that SoCal, like LA area, they're already open. I live up in the Bay Area on the North Cal, so we're slowly getting things adjusted before we can start
wow.
get back to normal with it. You know, it's depressing. I miss the stage so bad.
I bet. I mean, we've had it back, but not for very long. That aspect. I mean, it's just nobody's really been. I guess there was still some things like we weren't able to have shows until how long have we had shows now again? A few months. About a few months, but they've not been anything like big like this one. The clown show that we just went to. That's the first that's the first real show that I was shocked. I didn't think it was going to be that many people.
Man.
It was like a full venue. Like I don't think they capped our capacity. There's a lot of us. So
1 year has been long enough. Like everybody's like, "Fuck, I want to get the hell out of the house and just go there." You know?
I honestly didn't even think about COVID one time that night.
No.
I was just like, "Fuck, we're at a show." I just forgot.
It was
read that negative shit out. It's like, let's have some fun. Fuck all this shit. It's over with now.
It was definitely worth it.
I'm just here for a good time, not a long time.
What he said. So yeah, that was our show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I've gotten some feedback, and anybody who watched the first episode was like, "Oh my god, is it time for Sunday yet? Like, can we please get the next episode?" Because I mean, talk about a fucking cliffhanger. This is a wild one. I think the next episode we're gonna do is gonna be a movie review. I've got some homies that are already lined up for that episode, so we'll get you guys that info. I gotta, meet up with him, like as far as get in touch with him and figure out exactly what we're doing because it's been a busy week and I've been horrible at communication. But we're gonna figure out what we're doing for the next episode. I'll probably post about it tomorrow at the very latest, or no, not tomorrow. I'll post about it on Tuesday. That's when I'll post about it at the very latest Wednesday.
I need one more day of recovery.
Yeah, I'm
There's more recovering after all this.
I'm telling you, like, yeah, tomorrow is my super recovery day. We're like not like, man, I was like, I told him like it almost felt like gathering again. Like
Right.
except it was only for one day. Like it wasn't a whole week. But let me tell you, at the end of that one day, I felt it. Like it felt like it's been a week.
Right.
Like, oh my god, my body. I couldn't imagine. Like it's a good thing like they're starting us out doing this instead of like just being like, all right, we're finally back at it and we're gonna give you the gathering. Like I couldn't imagine trying to go from 0 to 100 because I would die. I'd be like 2 days in, I'm like, man, fuck this gathering, I'm gonna sleep.
Right. Just sleep it off. Don't even care if you miss out.
Yeah, just drag me to main stage, okay? Take me to fucking Slay and drag me to main stage. Wake me up when it's time. Yeah, no.
Right. So, go back to sleep after when it's done.
Right. Right. So, anyways, all right. Well, I think
that's a wrap.
That's a wrap, guys. Yeah. Again, Chuckklez, thank you times a million for being with us both weeks in a row. We really appreciate that. And to all of our viewers, we appreciate you guys. Thank you for all the shares. Thank you for the continued support. Thank you for loving our show and just seeing you guys out there in public and stuff. It's so cool to you guys. You know who we are. Like you guys fuck with our show and you're like, yeah, Shape Lady rolling over on the couch. That's dope as fuck. We love y'all for real. So thank you for being here with us.
Y'all the shit.
Thank you. But yeah, so we're gonna call it quits and keep an eye out for next week's promo, so y'all know what we are doing next week. So right on, y'all. We love y'all. Thank you for being with us.